Girls, what was the most obvious hint you dropped and the guy just didn't get it? We were playing life, and he was a police officer. The rule is, if you spin a 10, he gets your speeding fines. I literally pulled open my button down and exposed my breasts and said, what can I do to get out of paying this? He said, ma'am, I'm an officer of the law. Are you trying to prostitute yourself to me? A couple days of flirting and sexual innuendo later, I literally had to spell out that I was trying to duck him. We've been together 6 years now. I'm the guy in this situation, but I couldn't help not sharing this story. In college, this girl I was really into asked if I wanted to hang out at my dorm and drink and watch Netflix. She came over, and we were watching and drinking on the couch in the living room, per my suggestion. Things are going good, and about an hour into it she says, ooh, lemme see your room. So we go to my room. She takes her shoes and socks off and immediately sprawls herself out on my bed and says, oh my god, your bed is so comfortable. I responded with, we live in the same building. It's the same bed as yours. She left about 10 minutes later. We were talking about canoes, and I said I'm like a canoe because I'm wet, and you can go inside me, and he said canoes aren't really wet at it. Some PPL think he was rejecting me, but we ended up dating for 2 years. He told me my hair looked nice. I said, bet it would look nicer with your hands in it. He said, in a very confused tone, you want me to style your hair? Edit, glad one of y'all thought my mixed signals was worth silver. When my boyfriend and I had just started dating, we were laying down watching a movie, but this was a small bed, and he was being respectful and giving me space. I kept wiggling backwards so I could get closer to him, and he kept inching backwards too, since he thought I was just trying to get comfortable, and he was in the way. He ended up sitting in a chair next to the bed. 3 years later we are still together, and I still think it's pretty funny. He told me that when he was in the chair he purposefully left his hand next to me in case I wanted to hold it, but I guess I missed that sign too. He didn't get out of the bed because he was uncomfortable. He truly thought he was taking up too much space and didn't realize I was trying to cuddle. I threw my panties at him, and he kept explaining God of War lore. A couple of weeks ago, to my boyfriend of 3 years, me undresses and lays naked on the couch, waiting to bone. Him makes dumb joke, "Ooh, you're naked. That's so weird." Me dies a little bit inside. Edit, thanks for my first award, guys. Glad some people thought this was funny. He probably knew, but just wasn't in the mood. Anyway, here comes a similar situation from me. Guy, my ex was more flirty than usual when she wanted my attention, putting her hands on my thighs, things like that. After more failed attempts than I care to admit, I just gave up on thinking those were signs she wanted something more. Sometime later she complains, why am I always the one to come to you for sex? Show some initiative. After chatting for hours on top of a mountain from sunset until like 2 AM, sharing a blanket, me leaning my head on his shoulder, telling him he's attractive, etc. He turns to me and says back, quote, how do you tell if a girl is into you? I'm a guy, but I once had an experience where I took the hint, but still got rejected. A girl had asked me if I lost my virginity yet. We were in high school. When I said I hadn't, she said that I could practice on her whenever I want. Mind you, we walking home after school because we lived close. I tried to act on this hint when we get to her house, and she said she was only joking and doesn't want it to be weird with us as friends. Before we started dating, I told my current boyfriend I love you, and he said, or I love you too, you're such a good friend. The whole time we thought we were both friend-zoning each other. Wasted half a year going in circles SMH. I guess it does get a little tricky being a guy, cause I would never want to make a girl feel uncomfortable or that I'm forcing her into something. It kinda makes friendly gestures and hints sound real similar. It's best to be friendly. So answering in lieu of my late wife here, I, husband, am dumb. Like, really dumb. She and I met and became friends very quickly, but I didn't know she apparently had a huge crush on me. I thought she was out of my league, and apparently she thought I was out of her league too, but she couldn't stop the feels. She rubbed her feet on me while we were talking, asked me in detail about my package, Gave me her phone number with the line, "Hit me up if you want pizza and 6." We went out for lunch. She offered to fill at me for a Dr. Pepper, and she was very insistent that we got meat lovers pizza when I asked her what she wanted for watching a movie later. After we watched the movie, she was in my bed. I figured she was just wanting to keep warm and cuddle, but she strutted into my bathroom stark naked, and I had some DD staring at me. She kissed me and told me, "I want you to duck me, you idiot." A regular romance story there. In my defense, she had a really warped sense of humor, and I thought she was kidding with all that stuff. It felt so natural with us being friends that the thought didn't even cross my mind until she propositioned me that there was potential for more. I'd had some really ducked up exes, and I thought romance was something where I had to jump through hoops for the other person and wait on them hand on foot. But she was different. That's why she was the one who I got on one knee for. Advice to the ladies out there: if my wife telling me "I want you to duck me" got through my legendarily thick skull, I think as a last resort that'll get through to anybody. I asked a guy on a festival to come take a shower with me. He didn't get it. He just repeated there was only one free shower, and I was like, "Well, they are big, I'm sure it's fine." And he just looked confused and told me I could go first. We became close friends since that happened about 2 years ago, and this summer I spoke to him about it, and he really had no idea. He did the biggest facepalm I've ever seen. Guy here was invited back to study by one of the girls in my class at her apartment. We are about half hours in, and she says she might take a shower. I'm like, okay, kinda random, but okay. Anyway, she starts telling me the door to the shower is broken, so don't come in. Says it 3 or 4 more times. Again. I'm like, okay, weird she said that multiple times, but okay. Hours later the shower is still running. I can hear her singing and humming away, so I know she's okay and hasn't drowned. Thinking, gee, that's a long shower though. Water goes off, and she comes out dressed and says, "You didn't come in." I'm confused as I'm like, WTF, she told me not to. She sits back down, clearly distracted and not wanting to study. We wrap up after 5 minutes. Drive home. Mate asks me how study was about a week later and the situation, which I hadn't given a single brain cell of thought to since. I explained to him. As I'm saying it out loud, the penny drops as to what a big duckhead I am. Before my boyfriend asked me out, he kept hinting at the fact that we were both single and everyone though we would be cute together. I was like, haha, yeah, not realizing he was trying to ask me out. I'm not as brutally upfront as some of these people, but mine happened yesterday. How do I know a girl is flirting with me? He asks. She touches you a lot while you two are talking. I cannot relate at all. That never happens to me. I'm sure it does. I tell him and hit his arm. I can't think of any time that's ever happened. Apostrophe. See, this is a rough one, because I had this one girl I'd talk to all the time, and she'd sit next to me in class. I had a huge crush on her, and she'd be overly touchy all the time. She'd occasionally even rest her head on my shoulder, sleep on it during class, when she was tired, just stare into my eyes for prolonged periods of time, and hug me. When I told her I had a crush on her, she shut me down completely and told me she only saw me as a friend. For Valentine's a couple of years ago, I mailed my husband a package. The note said, and I quote, "I want you now." I was ready to spring into some extra fun sexy time. Whenever he opened the package, I had to sit him down and explain a couple of hours later. He was like, oh. Apostrophe. Guy here, but once had a girl drag me into the bathroom while at a college party saying she needed help finding her marker. We didn't find it, and I figured out what was really going on a year later. Complained I was a bit cold, so he gave me a blanket. I then told him there's space for 2 under the blanket, in an obvious flirting tone. He answered with no thanks, "I'm not cold." I still tease him with it once in a while. We are married now. Holy shit, I'm mentally slow. I just realized I was him a week or 2 ago. I went on a second date with a girl to a hockey game, and I don't feel comfortable doing touchy-feely stuff until I outright say I'm ready to commit seriously. So halfway through she says, "Man, it's pretty cold in here, isn't it?" And I said no. If anything, I'm a little warm. Things went normally for the rest of the game. but afterwards I got straight ghosted LMAO. I couldn't for the life of me figure out why, but that may or may not be it. It could be anything really, but I hadn't connected those dots yet, so I physically facepalmed when the light bulb went off. Edit. Thanks for the nice comments so far. It wasn't anything I was fully committed to yet, so I didn't get too bent out of shape. The bigger thing for me is that I can be socially inept at times and have not been on many dates with people I don't already know to start with, even though I'm in my mid-20s. Long chain of events lol. So I had moreover been trying to discern where anything cold been remotely connected to being ghosted, so I could potentially improve my self-awareness in a type of situation I'm not often in. I had let it go, but this reminded me of it, and I thought I'd share. Edit 2. Just so it's not some random assumptions here. Conversation was decent to great over text, and I initiated every date, to which she sounded pretty bubbly towards each time. I'm not a forward person, and have strong social anxiety in situations like this. Maybe I should just be upfront with that, because they're going to know about it eventually, so I shouldn't hide it, and have them guessing my motives. It just really didn't seem like there was any problems, because even after the game she was going to Uber home originally, but decided she wanted to ride with me on the subway after I mentioned I was taking it home. We talked the whole ride back, and then said goodbye at the station. Then she responded once after that, and never said anything else. One time a girl straight up asked if I wanted to take my pants off, and I didn't get it. I was like, nah, they're actually not uncomfortable at all. Usually when girls ask you to take off your pants, it's for their comfort. No one wants to come in contact with the kind of tough fabric a lot of pants are made of when they're sleeping. Also, always take off your belt. That's just cruel to accidentally poke someone with your belt buckle. I had a girl invite me round her house once, just to show me her posters. They were all of Harley Davidson motorbikes, and she said she's never ridden a Harley before. Awkward silence, and after a few other bits of small talk I decided to be on my way. 2 years later I'm sitting on the bus, and realize what she meant. Holly. Ridden the Holly. My name is Holly. When I was about 35, I lived in a beach town near a university. My neighbors were all college kids. Next door was 2 college girls. One was always flirting with me. One hit summer day, she turned up at my door in nothing but a long t-shirt. She asked if she could hang out in the AC. I said sure, and she came over to the sofa I was sitting long ways on, and laid with her back to my chest, and asked if we could snuggle. I was okay with that. She then asked me to rub her belly, which I did. As you can imagine, after about an hour, I was getting a little worked up, and touched her breast. While rubbing her belly, she jumped up and stormed out. I was like WTF. She later said she didn't see me like that. I asked her why she'd show up almost naked, lay between my legs like couples do, and ask me to rub her belly, and then get pissed when I try to progress things. She said she looks at me like a big brother. I was like, WTF is your family like? I'm a guy, but I can share my density as a guy that missed the hints. I went to a store where there was a girl I liked in college. We used to small talk while I browsed and never bought anything. Bring a poor college student. This time I came in the store and she said hi, and we chatted a bit while I shopped. She complained, I'm going to be home alone tonight. My family is out of town. I replied, oh that's too bad. She says, I'm off at 5 today. It was 4 at the time. What are you up tonight? I'm up for anything. Oh nothing. Just sitting at home and watching a movie. My brain must have completely self-destructed because the conversation ended there. I never saw her again after that. She either quit or was avoiding me. I must have been in a daze from school to miss that cue. We were discussing costumes, and I sent a picture of me in my bunny suit and said I'd need help out of it. His response was telling me he hoped my roommate was home, or that would suck. I had to tell him I was implying I'd like him to take it off me, and it took him a minute to catch up. Edit. For those of you concerned, it was very much a suggestive picture. I'm not sure it could have been perceived as just friendly, and no you won't be getting proof of said picture for those in my DMs lol. I was very much ready to hit him with the bat of bluntness, because we get along great, and he'd seemed flirty with me before. Invited him over to watch a movie, eventually laying my legs across his lap and hard flirting. But after 4 movies I had to finally make the move. Edit for clarification. We'd been flirting via text, sexting, exchanging nudes, etc. I had previously told him to his face that I liked him, and I'm giving him the green light to make any move. Still nothing after a month of dating. I seemed to always take the lead on things and I like assertiveness, but I wanted to give him the opportunity to feel like he could be in control, that it was okay. I was very direct many times. We'd had several discussions about it. Still nothing. Even after I finally made the move I had to literally say, I want to have to sex with you /you 200D. I once was modeling clothes I planned to take on vacation for my boyfriend. After showing off a couple of outfits, I told him to close his eyes and changed into lingerie. He opened his eyes and I asked him what he thought. His jaw dropped and he said, "You can't wear that outside." I put my clothes back on. Not a girl, but I was staying a night at a hotel, and the hotel bar had just closed. I went out front for a smoke and start chatting with 2 we shoot the sheet for a few minutes and then all head back into the hotel and to the elevator. We get in, they press 15, I press 9, and one of them turns to me and says, "I don't suppose there's a secret bar on the 9th floor we can go to?" My dumbass responds, "No, but you can grab a cab and be at a bar in 10 minutes. Then the doors open and I leave. Edit, this is my most upvoted comment. Cool. He invited me to his house to watch a movie after a few dates. He ended up playing League of Legends for hours while I was laying in his bed and asked him many times if he would like to join. Sorry, just one more match. We dated for 2 years